Hello, everyone, and I guess welcome back to my cave, even though I'm very well lit. I might even have a little candle here. Well, welcome back to Growing Up Alien. And this evening is a very exciting, long-awaited presentation with Frank Chille and our co-host Linda as well. We have had Linda. It was just like the old times, right?
Seems like
Yeah,
old times.
Yeah.
yeah,
The information and what led up to this evening is the information that I received this summer from ICA um, on the base in the Pacific Palisades that runs under Point Doom and out by Malibu, and is shown on the Google Maps, which they blurred out. Bob Renaud, who lived in Massachusetts, was a contactee of the Korendor people. And the Korendor people told Bob that they have a base out in California as well as in the Berkshires. And that base is in the middle of California. And while I found out looking at the map today and doing some analysis that that's 100% has to be the base that Ika is talking about. So Frank did not get to meet Bob Renaud personally, but he did know Gabriel Green, who worked with Bob Renaud, and Frank was able to see a lot of the work that Bob Renaud had produced. So we're going to talk tonight about Gabriel Green to help lead us into building up this narrative as to what's actually going on now. All right, so I will hand it over to Frank. Wonderful to have you back, Frank.
thank you. It's wonderful to be with you and Linda again. And it's a joy to be able to share information about Gabriel Green. He was so influential in opening so many doors to both myself and my spiritual brother, Simon. Uh, Gabriel was born in Whittier, California in 1924, and he attended believe it or not, the Woodbury School of Business out in California. And he was drafted into the Navy and did aerial reconnaissance during the war years. And after the war ended, he went back to Los Angeles and he got a job with the Los Angeles school system. And he was a photographer for them. And it was around that time that George Van Tassel started his own experiences meeting with the star beings and having UFO conventions out of Giant Rock. George Van Tassel had the uh, airport at Giant Rock. It was called the Giant Rock Airport, and his wife would bake pies. And I think I mentioned this to you and Linda before, that Howard Hughes would fly out because Howard Hughes knew George Van Tassel during the war years. He was a wingman for Howard Hughes. He was on the left wing of Howard Hughes, and the right wing man was Ted Williams, the famous Boston baseball player, because his vision was so acute. He used to say that he could see the stitches on the fastball being thrown at him. So Howard Hughes had Van Tassel on his left wing and Ted Williams on his right wing, and he felt very secure with them. And after the war ended and Van Tassel bought the Giant Rock Airport, Howard Hughes would come out and visit with him, fly out in his private plane, and he loved Van Tassel's wife's pies. She had a little cafe there. So he would land and have pie and coffee and talk to Van Tassel. Well, Van
Mm.
Tassel started the Giant Rock conventions out there, and Gabriel lived out in Los Angeles at the time and started coming out there, and he filmed all of the Giant Rock UFO conventions. Some of them attracted as many as 10,000 people per event, which was, extraordinary back in that time. And I send you some of the photos of those early years at Giant Rock, the conventions there. And Gabriel would be there with his wife, and they would sell information and have little badges. UFOs are real. Her name was Helen. What a great lady she was. I never got a chance to meet her, but I heard so many wonderful things about her.
Wow.
So Gabe continued doing that work, and then he had his own contact with a fellow by the name of Renton, Renton, and Renton spoke to Gabe about the possibility of running for office under the space platform. And I think I sent you the flyer,
Mhm.
which was the flyer that Gabe used. Could you bring that up?
Yeah, I think the flyer. Okay, the flyer I believe is on the. Is that from the pictures you sent
The
me?
first set. The first set.
I got that. All right. Yes, unfortunately, I have to do these things in reels. Otherwise, they don't. They don't.
Okay.
It's a weird.
I thought by texting them to you, you could bring them up easier if they were texted.
No, it's the zoom actually. So we have this picture here. I believe it. There it is.
Okay, there it is with his flyer for his space age president, and he got a lot of interest in his candidacy, but he dropped out in 1960 because he was told by his contact Renton that, and I believe Renton was from Alpha Centauri,
Okay.
and his contact Renton told him that there were many space visitors living amongst us.
Right.
All they had to do was just change their clothes and wear Earth clothes, and they could interact with us. And Renton had told him that there was some of them that were working in the Los Angeles area as domestics, and people would never know that they were star visitors. He said one of them had a Lincoln Continental, but he had what we would call today a laptop on the dashboard of his Lincoln that he could communicate with his fellow star beings.
No.
And Renton told him to drop out of the candidacy for the president because John F. Kennedy was going to win. So Gabe did drop out, but he ran again in 1972. And he had a button, it was really cute. It was called Abe in 1860 and Gabe in 1960.
Yeah, can we pull it up? Let me
yeah, can you bring up that little?
Yeah, the button. So we back to another.
It's really cute.
It is cute. Yeah. Let me see. All right. Yeah. Here we go. Okay. So the button should be around. Let's see. Nope, not that
And
one.
that's a picture of Gabe when he moved to Yucca Valley. That's it.
Wow.
Abe in 1860 and Gabe in 1960. That's really clever. It's a good play on words.
Adorable.
Can you go back to that photo of Gabe and his wife, Helen, and his wife at Giant Rock? That's a more recent photo of them. It's a color photograph of them at one of the later Giant Rock conventions. And there's an earlier one where she's wearing sunglasses, and I think Gabe is not wearing sunglasses, and they were selling buttons about, that's it, yes. That's a picture of them. That's probably in 54, 55. You could see how young Gabe was.
Wow.
But he filmed every one of the UFO conventions, and he had them all stored at his house in Yucca Valley. So also in 1959, Gabe started a publication called Amalgamated Flying Saucer Clubs of America. And in it, he started publishing the works of contactees. And one of the first ones was the Bob Renaud story that Andrea had mentioned, that he was from Massachusetts. And he was writing a book based upon his experiences with beings from Korendor, which was in the Como Berenice's star system. And Gabe would serialize it in the Amalgamated Flying Saucer Clubs of America newsletter, which he published on a monthly basis. He also put in information in his Amalgamated Flying Saucer Clubs of America about Dan Fry, who had the experience at White Sands Missile Base, where he met Atan, who was a star being who looked just like us. And Daniel, even though he was a scientist and engineer out at White Sands Missile Base, he was allowed to talk about his experiences. He was never sequestered and told not to talk about it. But Gabe would serialize his story also in his publication, and there were more than 5,000 members of it in 24 countries. And each one of the covers of his publications were really unique. I don't know if you have any of the covers of them, Andrea. Do you have one?
They're in the, here we go. Okay.
They're all collector's items now.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
And Gabe did all this on his own, and I believe Helen helped him with them.
Yeah, that would be this one. That's the space age president. Let's see. Nope. He runs for president. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what that would have been like if he would have been president? Oh, wow.
No.
That never went. That wouldn't. I don't know if I have that. Nope, I don't. So that's just, this is the work from Bob Renaud of the map of Korendor. But yeah, no, I don't have his the magazine. No.
That's a publication he wrote. Let's Face the Facts About Flying Saucers. He did that in 1967. Andrea, if you can go back to his flyer when he was going to be the space age president, is it possible you could read anything off that so people could hear some of the things that he was proposing?
It's Gabriel Jack Smith. So Gabriel Green, a 35.
No. Go back to the previous one, the one that showed the flyer of his candidacy.
Oh, no,
That one.
I have to.
Can you blow that up? Can you blow that up?
I'd have to blow it up. Yeah, I can't actually. Let me.
See if you can read anything off of that.
I actually have it here. Let me
Because
see.
he had a great platform. It was an incredible platform.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, that's wild. I mean, it's well, you know, and it kind of shows that the back in the day, the old school stuff
Oh yeah.
is far more intense and involved than what we have today. I mean, today it's like I said, we really haven't moved forward very much. In fact, I think we've almost moved back. So I mean,
here's one of the quotes that he gave during his campaign. With the help of spacemen, I believe I can carry millions of votes. Hundreds of space people are walking the streets. That came out. That was issued September 24th, 1960. And I think I have another quote from him during that campaign. Let me see.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, here's another quote that he had. I have been selected for president by the folks from outer space. They gave Moses the 10 Commandments. They provided transportation for the Exodus. They furnished George Washington the battle plans for crossing the Delaware, and also roughed out the drafts of the Declaration of Independence. And that was quoted by Gabriel Green, August 10th, 1960. But again, his space friend asked him to drop out because they said that John F. Kennedy would be winning the presidency. So Gabe graciously backed out.
Wow. Yeah, it's blurry. I blew it up, but the original picture is blurry, so there's nothing, you can't read it.
Okay, that's a shame. I'll have to try to get a clear single page of that, because what he was proposing are all the things we talk about today, which would rebalance people that have, there would be no poverty, there'd be no disease, there would be no homelessness, that everybody would be utilizing the advantages of free energy. We wouldn't be labored by the banking system and by insurance companies and things like that, and by energy companies. He really went all out with everything, and we'd have longer lifespans because we'd be eliminating illness and disease. We'd be eating better. We'd be using the systems that are used on other planets so that nobody is penalized. There's no caste system.
Right. Right.
And they're all things that could be used today. We need all those things today, of course. So anyway, go ahead, Andrea.
I was going to say, it's too bad. I think the time, right, when you're looking at the 1960s, certainly 50s and 60s, that would have been the time that a lot of this would have been pushed through, because you could look, you were saying, 10,000 people at one of the Giant Rock conventions. You don't get a space convention today.
And that was in the middle of nowhere. People were driving long distances to go out in the middle of the desert, the middle of the Mojave, and they were, where Giant Rock is, there's no real roads there. They're just dirt roads leading into the middle of the Mojave.
Yeah. So
Andrea, if you could fill up that picture of Bob Renaud, we can mention him and talk about him.
So
where he's with the ham radio?
Yep. It's here somewhere. I think it's up with the first one, or let me see. I have a picture of him somewhere. Where is it? There it is. Somewhere.
There it is. That's him.
Yep.
I remember Gabe showing me that original photograph that Bob had sent to him, saying that he had made contact with the star visitors on his ham radio set. And then he was transmitting information to Gabe, which Gabe was publishing in his newsletter. Right. And as I mentioned to you, Bob was a young fella here. Look how young he was.
I didn't even know that. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So he would receive the messages, and ultimately he did write a book about his experiences. And again, it was serialized in Gabriel Green's publication. And Bob was an interesting person. And I had mentioned this to you and Linda at a previous sharing, that I believe Gabe asked Bob to ask his star friend if photographs could be shown off planet. And Bob was given a yes by his star friend, and his star friend said, get a good 35 millimeter camera and several rolls of film and give it to me, and I'll take photographs. And he came back and provided these rolls of film, which Bob had developed, and it showed Terminus Haton, Haton's home planet, who's the record keeper of the galaxy. And they were incredible photographs. They were 35 millimeter and high resolution, and they were just extraordinary photos. And I think I mentioned that to you and Linda in another program.
Yeah.
Gabe had them available in his home, and we would see the originals, and he was making sets of them that people could purchase. And those sets are as rare as hen's teeth now. I think I mentioned to you and Linda, Andrea, that when I met Commander Bethune, I told him about the series of photos, and he was hell-bent to get a copy of them. And he tracked down a woman in Utah who had a set of them, and she agreed, and talking to Gabriel and talking to Graham, that she would consider giving him the set or selling him a set, but she had to meet with him. So Graham was a commander in the Navy, and he had VIP status. He would fly the Secretary of the Navy, also the Secretary of Defense, and high-ranking admirals to crash retrievals. One was in Iceland and one was in Utah. So he could fly anywhere free of charge. So he agreed to meet with this woman from Utah, flew out and met with her, and she said, Commander Bethune, I think you're a sincere and genuine person. But she said, I want to spend 3 days interacting and talking with you before I turn these photos over to you. So Graham spent 3 days talking with her, and he said this woman was very, very serious. She wanted to make sure that these photos would get a good home because she realized how rare they are and how extraordinary they were. So at the end of 3 days, she agreed and gave them to Graham. As soon as Graham flew back, he wanted me to meet him for lunch, and he wanted me to see the photos. And he said, Frank, are these the photos? And I said, yes, they are. And then he wanted me to introduce him to 2 female friends of mine that were like teachers to me, Roberta Herzog, who I mentioned to you and Linda before, and also Chille, who had the inner Earth experiences in the inner Earth of the planet. So she was living out in Indian Mills, which is outside of Medford Lakes here in New Jersey. And Graham met us, and we had luncheon at Chille's house, and Roberta was there, and they were both blown away by the photos. And I think I mentioned this to you and Linda before, Andrea. When I looked at the photos, the energy coming off of them, you could feel the radiation of energy coming off the photos.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, they were, not false at all. They were real. And when Roberta and Chille saw them, they said the same thing. They said, Frank, these photographs are real photos. They're taken on Hatan's home planet, Terminus Hatan. And they were just really, really extraordinary. And they told Graham the same thing. They said, Graham, these are actual photographs. They are not on this planet. They were taken off planet. So he got the 2 confirmations from them. And unfortunately, when Graham passed, whatever he had an incredible collection of ufology. And I believe he also had one of the copies of Admiral Byrd's secret diary, because he always used to talk to me about Byrd's secret diary.
Wow.
When he passed, all that stuff disappeared. His family would not allow anybody to have access to any of that. But he did have a copy of it. So it was validated that a set of those photos did exist, and 2 friends of mine that were really, really incredible metaphysicians validated them as being real. And shortly after Gabe passed, which was in 2001, it was September 8th, like 3 days before the Twin Towers event.
Right.
Bob basically went silent. He became very, very quiet. I rarely heard about him.
Yeah.
And Andrew, you said his website continued to produce information about Korendor?
Yeah, up into the 80s.
Up until the 80s. And then he stopped. He went quiet.
Yeah, he never really came out with much. He would put it out. Of course, I don't know if he had the website in the 80s. I mean, he obviously didn't have websites then, so he was putting it out then. But he put all of his material together and then launched a website.
Yes.
And that's the website.
But as far as you know, did he ever speak in Massachusetts publicly? Do you ever know that, Andrew?
I'd have to look it up. I mean, what I heard about him is that he was fairly quiet.
Okay.
And the only person that he really reached out to on a regular basis was Gabriel Green.
Yeah, those were really tight friends. They really were.
So
And
Bob passed September 5th of 2022.
Yes. The way I met Gabriel was through my brother Simon. Simon was an architect who went to Pratt Institute in New York City, and he had a calling to go out to Yucca Valley because he felt so synchronistic with Van Tassel's idea of forming the College of Universal Wisdom based upon what the star visitors gave him. So Simon felt that he needed to go out there and do the design work for the College of Universal Wisdom, which is going to be around the Integratron.
Right.
So unfortunately, when he got out there, George had passed 2 months before Simon got there. So Simon wound up staying with his wife, Doris, and was working on plans for the buildings that would be still constructed in that area. And as fate would have it, I got a job transfer from the company that I worked for in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, to move out and relocate out to California. And I got out there for like 4 months after Simon did. And Simon came to visit my wife and I. I was married at the time. I was living in Tustin, Arizona. And when he knocked on the door, I opened it, and he reminded me of John the Baptist. He had a long beard, and he had a staff. Oh, my God, he made me laugh. And he said, Frank, he said, it's important that you come out to Yucca Valley. He said, there's some things that are going on there that you need to be aware of. So I talked to my wife at the time, Don, and she knew I was interested in UFOs. Even though she had no interest in it, she thought, how could such intelligent people be interested in something so nonsensical? That's exactly what she would say. But she didn't prevent me from going out there. So I went out there for the weekend and spent the weekend at Doris's home, Van Tassel's home, and she showed me the Integratron, brought me inside of it, showed me the work that had been done by Van Tassel and also by Daniel Boone, who was a direct descendant of Daniel Boone, who married one of the Van Tassel's daughters. He had 3 daughters, no sons. So his daughters married 3 individuals. One of them was Daniel Boone. Another one was a fellow that wrote, I believe I mentioned to you before, Return of the Ancients. He married Van Tassel's oldest daughter and had experiences with the visitors that looked just like us. And then the third daughter married someone who was a salesman that worked at a car lot in Los Angeles. But spent the weekend with her and had experiences there at the Integratron and also at Doris's home, where a craft landed in the yard. And I think I mentioned this to you and Linda before. I shared this experience with you.
Yeah, I remember.
And Simon introduced me to Gabriel Green, and we formed a really tight bond. So I came back to Tustin, and as things would happen, the marriage between me and my wife, Dawn, at the time, we separated, but we still maintained good friendship. There was no arguing, no ill feelings, nothing like that. So she understood that I wanted to pursue a different course, and I didn't want to hold her back and let her, go on with her life. So I got my own apartment. She stayed where we were living before, and she was continuing her education. And Simon and I would go out and spend time out at Yucca Valley and meeting with Gabriel Green, meeting with Daniel Boone, meeting with Reverend Bob Short and other folks out there. And we met Celia Winkler, who would paint the images of the star beings that would appear in her little cottage. And when we met Gabe, when I met him, he had a picture of his wife, Helen. She had passed before I got a chance to meet him. And Celia Winkler had painted an image of his wife, Helen, as a space commander. It was a beautiful portrait of her that he had above his fireplace. And the color photograph of her and Gabriel Green that you showed earlier, she looked like that, but she was younger, and she had a device on her head that was like a form of a cap or a helmet. As a space commander, she had her own craft. And it was interesting. Whenever we would visit Gabriel, we would have long weekends out there. Whenever he would mention Helen's name, the lights would flicker in his house. It was like she was letting him know she was there. So whenever he mentioned her name, so cool. The lights would flash. It was really, really cute. And Rob Potter will come out there with us. We would have long weekends. We'd spend from Friday afternoon, I would get out of work early. We get out there and come back like Sunday night or early Monday morning. And George Fiedler, who I mentioned to you and Linda before, who was the engineer who created the Nature Shield, the device to stop pestilence. Right, he would come out there with us, and we would have long weekends there and be talking till like 1:30, 2:30 in the morning. And I think I mentioned this to you and Linda before, that one time the phone rang about 1:30 in the morning,
Yep.
And Gabe said to me, Frank, why don't you answer the phone? So I answered the phone, and I heard this male metallic voice that said, Gabriel Green, please. And it sounded just like that, but it was male and it was metallic. So I said, Gabe, this phone call's for you. So
Right.
Gabe took the call, and he always had a notepad with him. He would always take notes, and he was on the phone about 15 minutes. And he said to me and Frank, he said to me and to Simon and to Rob Potter and George Fiedler, he said that was one of the star visitors.
Yep.
He was calling me through the craft that was the craft's computer that was hovering above Yucca Valley, and gave him some information. And he said, what did you think when you heard that voice? I said, well, it was a male voice and it was clear, but it was metallic. And he said it was a computer that was relaying the message for him. So I thought that was interesting. So
wow.
We would visit there 2 or 3 times a month. We would go out there and spend long weekends. Sometimes it would be just Simon and I, and sometimes Rob would be there. Sometimes George Fiedler would be there, and some other friends. So this one time, Gabe told me, he said, Frank, I'm suffering terrible, terrible migraine headaches. And he said, I think I got cancer. I got a tumor. So he said, I'm going to go into the local hospital and get some x-rays done. So the next day he called me and he said, Frank, he said, you and Simon got to come out here. He said, there's something I have to show you. And I said, sure, Gabe, we'll come out. So we went out there and I said, do you still have the headaches? He said, no, I don't have them anymore. He said, you'll never guess what they found when they took x-rays of me. And I said, well, what did they find? They said, Mr. Green, when's the last time you had skull surgery? And he said, I've never had skull surgery. He took out of this manila envelope x-rays of his skull that showed perhaps a dozen little openings in his skull about the size of quarters.
Wow.
And they said, these are openings in your skull. And he had Simon and I touch the parts of his skull where the soft parts were, where the openings were. You could tell there was no bone underneath. So they told Gabe that his star friend said they had done this procedure on him so that they could better communicate with him telepathically with more clarity.
Wow.
So they apologized for his discomfort, but he never had skull surgery, and they probably did it with lasers. Who knows how they did it? But after that, his clarity with communicating with the star visitors was incredible. And I believe I mentioned this to you and Linda once before too, that he called me and he said to Simon and I, we have to come out and spend the weekend with him. There was a very special woman that was going to be making a presentation on Sunday at the Yucca Valley Savings and Loan Building. And it was this woman by the name of Barbara Beaver. I think I told you about her before. He had that Christ Desert Park experience, and they opened up the savings and loan this Sunday for a special presentation that she was giving. And it was basically by invitation only. So the people who were there were invited to come by people who were kind of plugged and tuned in to the star visitors. So there was, I think I mentioned to you folks before, there was about 100 people there. And she shared with us the experience that she had being brought into Christ Desert Park and being brought on board a craft and meeting 4 starved beings. 2 of them looked like us. They were like golden colored, blonde hair. Their hair was more like gold colored than blonde, and like bronze colored eyes. And the male and female, they looked like Greek statues. They were like perfect physiques. And there was a little star visitor that was about 4 feet tall. She said he had the most beautiful violet colored eyes. And she said there was a tall Egyptian looking visitor. He was about 7 feet tall. And she said his skin was the darkest purple she had ever seen. But she said he looked Egyptian. And she talked about being taken to other planets in our solar system, being shown cities that are on these planets. And they talked to her about setting up her being an ambassador to share with Earth visitors, people who would want to come down here and spend time with Earth families, and Earth beings who would want to come and spend time on some of the planets with these other beings. And yeah, I know. You said that before when I told you this story.
So the exchange program, yeah,
it was like a foreign exchange program, an ambassador program, and she had never spoken before. She was a seamstress, and she was so eloquent and she was so humble, and she shared this information with us. And then she opened up the the room to questions. And I said to her, Barbara, are the conditions of this program and the success of it based upon how receptive we are to what you're sharing with us? And I remember her looking down at the floor and then looking at me, and she said, yes. She said, we're all being monitored on a monitor on board a craft to see how receptive we were to this concept.
Right.
And I mentioned to you before, I really felt we were all being on a big screen somewhere, and she validated that. And she was an artist, and she drew representations of the star visitors, the cities that she saw on these other planets. And it was incredible. She set this up in this not in this library, but in this bank on a Sunday. In the bank, who would ever think a bank would open up its doors to allow this kind of story to be told on a Sunday afternoon? And then after that, we parted company, and she said she would be in touch with Gabriel and with others, sharing information about how this program was going to progress. And as I mentioned to you, they wound up shutting her down.
I remember that. Yeah.
It was just very, very sad. But Gabe was a primary contact for opening us up to meeting with incredible people that lived out there. And I mentioned to you the story about Daniel Boone.
Well, the Barbara Beaver, I'm just going to put in the descriptions for folks. So we actually did an archival footage conversation on Barbara Beaver with Rob Khalil on Typical Skeptic. So what I'll do is I'll put a link to that video. So if folks want to know more about the life and work of Barbara Beaver, they can
and the illustrations.
Yep, exactly.
It's a great story.
Yeah. So it was on we have it on Typical Skeptic podcast. I'll put a link in the descriptions with Rob Khalil and Barbara Beaver. So fantastic. Yeah. Situation.
That's fabulous. Well, it was Gabe who introduced Simon and I to Daniel Boone. And whenever we would go out to the desert, we would try to go visit with Daniel. And Daniel was such a wonderful person. And he told us he had helped Van Tassel in the building of the Integratron. And he said this one day, there were 3 young fellows there. And he said they looked to be in their mid to maybe late 20s. And he said they're all wearing jeans and they had like flannel shirts on. And one guy was sitting on the tail bed of the Van Tassel's pickup truck. And he had a piece of copper wire. And he was configuring the wire in a very unusual way. So Daniel was gathering up pieces of wood because the Integratron was made with all non-metal, was made with wood and plaster. So he was gathering up some of the debris, and he was going to take it and have it burned. And he saw this fella coiling the wire, and he went over to this young fella and said, "What is it you're doing?" And he said, "I want you to touch the end of this copper wire and tell me what you feel." So Daniel touched it, and he said, "It's cold. It's very, very cold." And the young fellow said, "That's right." And he said, "The beneficial use of energy creates cold." So he took the copper wire and he straightened it out and he recoiled it again in a different configuration. And he told Daniel, "Touch the end of this and tell me how it feels." So he touched the end of it. And he said, "It's very, very hot." So the young fellow said, "Yes, anything that generates heat is a destructive use of energy. You never want to use anything that generates heat for energy." Wow. So Daniel was really impressed. And he said, "Well, thank you for showing me that." He said, "I got to take this wood over to the wood pile and I'm going to burn it." He said, "I'll be right back." So he went over and dumped the wood in, and he was going to burn it later. And he came back, and the 3 guys were gone. So he said to George Van Tassel, he said, "George, who were those 3 guys that were just here?" He said, "They didn't have any car here." And Van Tassel said to him, "Daniel, they were star visitors."
Right.
They went back to their ship. They were just down here to show him that. And the reason they showed him that is they told Daniel later that they were going to give him the final wiring diagram for the Integratron, and he was to commit it to memory. And when mankind was ready to receive this gift, he would do the final wiring. And he committed it to memory. He told Simon and I he did that. And then another time, and I think I shared this story with you and Linda before, there was a fellow that was visiting Van Tassel in the wintertime, and he stayed there for about a week. And the day came where he was going to leave and he was saying goodbye to everybody. And all he had was a pair of jeans and a flannel shirt. He didn't have any jacket. and it was wintertime. And in the Mojave Desert in the wintertime, it is cold, and that wind blows really, really strongly. So the fellow was saying goodbye to everyone. And Daniel said, "You can't leave. You don't have a jacket." And he said, "No, I'll be all right. I'll be all right." And Daniel said, "No, no." He said, "Let me give you my jacket." He said, "Please wait here." So Daniel went home, got his warmest jacket, and he gave it to the guy. The guy put it on, and he said, "Thank you for this gift." And he said, "Now you gave me something, I have to give you something." And he said, "I'm going to give you my bedroll that I used when I was here visiting." And Daniel said, "You don't have to give me that." And he said, "No, I want you to have it." He said, "Because you gave me your jacket." And he said, "I really appreciate it." So they said goodbye, and the fellow started walking out. And this is in Van Tassel's home. He's got this beautiful bay window that looks out into Giant Rock, to the Mojave, the landing strip for Giant Rock Airport. So the guy walks maybe 50 yards and disappears. So Daniel says to Van Tassel, "Who was that guy?"
What's that?
He said he was a star visitor. And he said he came here to be with us to share information regarding the Integratron. Yeah. So Daniel was blown away by it. And I think I shared this with you before.
Oh, yeah.
In the summertime, he got an impression that he was to go to Mount Shasta. So he took the bedroll with him, and he went up to Mount Shasta, and he parked his truck, and he got as close as he could, and was going to camp out in Panther Meadow. And he picked his tree to put his bedroll under, and it was about maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And Daniel said he laid out his bedroll, he got inside of it, and he said the next thing he knew, the bedroll levitated and flew him into Mount Shasta.
Oh, and wow.
Daniel told Simon and I experiences that he had inside Mount Shasta. He said, "There's an incredible city inside of it." And he said, "It's populated by beings that look like us." And he said, it was remnants of Lemuria. So Daniel said that they showed him to a room that was cone-shaped, and he was told to go into by himself. You remember this, Linda?
Yes, I love this one.
Yes. So he went into this room that was cone-shaped, and they closed the door, and all of a sudden Daniel heard the most exquisite music he'd ever heard in his life. And he said he didn't know how long it played for, but he said he was completely immersed in this music, and he said it was vibrating throughout his whole body. And he said he doesn't know if he was in there a half hour or 45 minutes. He said, but when it stopped, he said the door opened and the visitor asked him to step out. And he said, "I just heard the most incredible music I've ever heard in my life." He said, "What is that room?" And he said that room is designed to amplify the soul vibration of an individual. And he said, "You heard the song of your soul." Yeah. And Daniel said it stayed with him all his life. I can only imagine that. And
that's
he said,
amazing.
Certain visitors that were allowed to go in there were allowed to go into that room to hear that. And Daniel said it changed his life. It really did, because he heard harmonies and harmonics he never thought he'd ever hear. And whenever he would talk to us about the star beings and about going inside Mount Shasta, he would well up with tears. He had blonde hair and the most crystal blue eyes you can imagine. But he would well up with tears when you talked about the star visitors, how much they care about us, how much they're upset by how we treat each other here, you know. And he never lost faith in the concept that at one point the Integratron would be activated and be used for not only a portal for traveling, but also for rejuvenation. And that's what they were using on their home planet. It was an accelerated application of negative ionization that would recharge the body and give them lifespans of anywhere from 1,500 to 2,400 years of age, and still look the same as, you know, like a teenager or somebody in their mid or late 20s. So it was, you know, it was, again, Gabriel Green who introduced us to Daniel Boone and introduced us to Celia Winkler, who was the artist who lived at the retreat out in Yucca Valley, and the visitors would appear to her. She would paint her likeness, and it was just amazing to see all these things. It was just, there were gifts that are beyond price. You know, they're good, like gifts of the soul. They really are.
Yes.
The time that I spent out there, I met Gabe in probably 77 and knew him through 1980. And then I went back to the East Coast and got an opportunity to live and work in Europe. And unfortunately, when I came back and I found out that Gabe had passed in 2001, we never got a chance to meet again. But he created so many wonderful experiences in my life. And I remember that his home was like a museum because he had all these manuscripts. And he said people would come out of the desert in the middle of the night, knock on his door, and give Gabe information about the star visitors that they had met in the desert. And he had photographs everywhere of starships. He had an original copy of Stranger at the Pentagon by Dr. Frank Stranges. Yeah. And I think I mentioned to you how I met Doc Stranges at several times at that's a good photograph of Gabriel Green. I'm glad you're showing these photos.
Yeah, we got that one. We have, he met Frank Stranges, right?
I met him and Gabe knew Doc Stranges. That's again a photograph of Helen and Gabe out of Giant Rock. That's a younger photograph of them when they were much younger, probably taken in 56 or 57 out of Giant Rock.
Whoop, we saw that one. Let's see.
Yeah.
Oops, there's the Giant Rock.
Okay, there's one of the convention things. And again, these people would bring tents and stay out there and camp overnight. It would be like a 3 or 4 day event. And they would bring their own food or they would cook their own food there. And contactees from that era would go up on that podium and speak. And it was really, really incredible. Go ahead.
Well, it's so different from, I think this is what's so important here for us to share this archival experiences from these original contactees back in the 50s, 60s, and even 70s.
Sadowski and
Bethune. Yeah. I mean, the atmosphere is so much more one of camaraderie and mission.
Yes. Yes. And there was no prejudice. No prejudice. Nobody was judgmental.
Right. And I think that's something that well, that's what we're trying to create because we want to get rid of all this, the grifter, Chille kind of.
Yes, all that. Yes. And Gabriel would videotape or film every one of the speakers, and he had all those in his house. His house was an archive, and all that stuff is in storage. I have a contact of the person that's holding this material, and hopefully we could try to convince him to release it. Because it's historical information. It's all historical information.
You can't replace.
I was wondering what happened to all of this, and if there was any way we could put it out there. Because it's very important for people, especially now, when people are more open to it and becoming more open as we put it out there. We need to put
timely.
It out
it's
there.
all timely now.
Yeah,
this was the room underneath Giant Rock that was carved out. And Van Tassel would use it for meditation and also contacting telepathically the star visitors. And he would get information from them there. Go ahead, Andrea, you could go to another one.
There's another group of people.
Yep, inside of the it's underneath Giant Rock.
I was going to say, it looks like underneath.
Van Tassel was very selective who could go in there because he wanted to keep it as pristine as possible and not dilute the energy. You know what I'm saying?
Wild. Wow.
See that photograph in the background? Can you blow that up?
No, not
it's a great photo of the saucer.
It's just, I was going to say, it's a saucer. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take a screenshot and look at it later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody watching this?
Yeah, that's all we can. You're right. Yeah.
See if you could go on to the next one, Andrea.
Can't alter whatever. Yeah. That looks like it's same under the rock, right? Where all his books are.
This is all under Giant Rock. Yeah. You can see the books on Van Tassel's shelf. There's an illustration of one of the star beings there. There's a star chart to the left-hand side there.
Yeah.
So Van Tassel would only use this area for receiving messages from the star visitors. And of course, he had his own home, which was close to the Integratron.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
And we did a story about Van Tassel, so you could also reference that, Andrea.
Absolutely. Yep, we did that.
That's a hell of a story about Van Tassel.
Oh yeah, it was raw. It was amazing. Yeah. He was quite interesting.
There's another picture of Giant Rock. And you can see off to the left, the little cafe where his wife would serve coffee and make pies.
Oh, that's cute. The little
cafe. It really is. Yeah. And I'm telling you, that is in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So that's, I think this is our last photo. That's it. Yeah, there we
No,
go.
you should have another one. There's another one. See
Oh, there it is.
this is taken in front of it, and you could see the people sitting on chairs, and also on
Yeah.
and there should be another one that was taken by a sheriff, the San Bernardino County Sheriff, of a saucer.
No,
Do you have that one?
nope, I don't have that one.
You
It
don't have that?
didn't load. No.
Oh, wow. But you did see it.
You're
That's a
holding
very
on to,
famous photograph.
yeah, you're holding on to all the good stuff and not.
No, I sent it to you this afternoon. You didn't
Oh,
get it?
it didn't load on my camera.
Oh, mother of God. I'll have to send
Yeah,
it to you again.
resend it. We'll have to do I'll have to do
But it's interesting. This sheriff from San Bernardino County had the impression, he had his camera with him to take a photograph after the last person spoke, and this huge saucer materializes in the negative. And it's a real craft, and it's bigger than Giant Rock. It is a huge craft. Should I try to send it to you again right now?
Yeah, I can just show it from the phone. Yeah. No, it didn't. Yeah, no, they didn't.
Mother of God.
They didn't want us to see it.
Well, you'll get it now.
Frank is creating teasers, so we want more. I mean, yeah, no.
Okay, I just sent it now.
Oh, I hear it. All right, let's see. Yeah, that's the last picture.
If Linda never saw this, it's an incredible photograph. And
I don't think I have.
It was taken by a San Bernardino County Sheriff. So, these guys, they don't make up stories. They don't lie about things.
Right. Especially back then. They were, you were made fun of if you talked about that stuff back then. Yeah.
And
I mean, even that he was there listening to the contactees speaks a lot. That's it. Look at the size of that craft.
Yep. Show it again.
There's the craft.
And move it up a little bit. So that people could see the Giant Rock behind it or underneath. That's it. See? Isn't it an amazing photograph?
You have to stop talking or else it doesn't show up on the thing. Let me see. Do it again. Oh, there it is. Yes. Wow. That's enormous. You get to really see the scale of it when you look at the bottom,
I can
nobody could say that was falsified. Nobody could say that was falsified.
That's wild.
No.
Had you seen it before, Andrea?
Never saw that one. No.
Yeah.
That was way before there was any AI or Photoshop or anything.
People, but I think a couple of things that we've highlighted here is that Howard Menger, of course, has photographs as well, which we've showed here. So yes, you can take pictures off planet using film, not using cell phone, but using film. That's 100%. So people who are going off planet and claim to be going off planet, there's no reason why they can't be, attempting to, if it's safe to do so, actually take photographs, as you can do that. And secondly, the star people are regular people. We have stories doing regular things, staying over people's houses. They're not, these
working in a store somewhere.
Yes, they're there. Yeah, exactly. And we all know this as contactees, but to be very careful. And of course, we have our friend now. His name is Andy. His show is Andy Z as his podcast, and he's doing a great job of covering some current events. And for sure, one of the most dangerous things that people are trying to bring forward now is this concept that these star beings are somehow larger than life. They're glowing. They're all kinds. They're very stiff and peculiar and very alien. And that's a red flag. And they're just not like that. And that's something that folks, it can be a very dangerous situation if you don't realize what these original contactees were bringing to the table en masse.
They were bringing the truth. They were bringing the truth in here.
This is, I keep stressing this, the truth is not in what you're watching today. The truth is what happened in the past.
And this is all before the influence of the Greys having overshadowed everything else. Everything else was overshadowed by the Greys.
Right. As Louise would say, that's when things went tits up. And I always say that in the 1970s when they had to shift from contact because the syndicate, as this is from Bob Renaud's folks from Korendor, when the syndicate began to take more power and more control on this planet, and that's what people call the cabal and what have you. It's a wing, an arm of the cabal. That's when you saw the militarization of the bases. And that's when you saw the real lockdown that existed in the mind control, the V2K, the Project Monarch, the MK Ultra, all of that stuff came in then. And here we are. So,
Andrea, I also wanted to mention too that Gabe was also instrumental in putting together the information from Paul Villa, the guy who took all those incredible photographs, those color photographs.
Yes, the Paul Villa. Yeah.
And we did a series on that too, so you could link that too.
Yep. So we have the Paul Villa photographs. Yeah, absolutely. And
So
some of
he
those have been,
serialized the Paul Villa story in Amalgamated Flying Saucers of America.
yes, in the yes.
And Andrea, I wanted to ask you, what did you pick up off that photograph of the saucer at Giant Rock? Do you pick up anything off of it?
They were able to come in then. I mean, that's yeah, those are the star people. I'd have to find out more information on that,
Yeah. But if you pick up anything, it'd be interesting to see what your feedback is. If you could identify who they may have been, did they allow themselves to materialize on that county sheriff's film?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I got them over my house every night.
Yeah. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. But I really got to kick it. Gabe saying that they were working as domestics in Los Angeles to be able to interact with people, just to pick up, what people are talking about, what they're thinking about, what they're doing with their lives. And, they could be amongst us all the time. And I feel that they are.
I've seen them. Linda's seen them, here. And this is the key point, is that everyone has to play a role in order to create a sustainable civilization. So there's no ego. Everyone does their part, like you would do in a regular family setting, where nothing is too big and nothing is too small. People on this planet have to understand what real brotherhood and sisterhood is all about. And you have to set competition. You have to get rid of competition, because that's of no benefit to anyone. It's very if you think
it's like a hierarchy,
Yeah, but if you think of things like some of the Chinese philosophies and Buddhism and things like, some of these more the Asian religions, they are expressing that, where it's about a civilization that works to maintain itself, that understands its past, that understands that's ready for its future, that is in its present, because that's when things get created, that exists in the present, the mindfulness, the mind, spirit, body connection, maintaining a healthy body, eating right, exercising, doing spiritual things, singing, dancing, cook, whatever you can create all forms of creativity, healing. And that's it. I mean, that's the way they live. And
Andrea, a lot of the contactees would always highlight that there was an equality between the female and male star visitors. There's no one-upsmanship. Everybody is equal. Everyone is equal. And the balance is perfect. It's a perfect balance.
And we just did a series with Ika, with Renata. Wonderful. She was the interviewer, and Ika gave a lot of information about that. And that was actually 2 videos ago from this one. And there's no body shame. There's no, perversion. There's none of that stuff.
Yeah.
And
when you're communicating telepathically, you can't hide insincerity. There's no way you can hide it.
They can. They were duped, actually. You can. The resistance was duped, actually, where the Sith, we'll call them the Sith, the bad guys, were able to infiltrate heavily the resistance movement with moles, and they weren't able to. They had to actually up their security systems because they were able to get inside. So yeah, it's just not desired to do that. I mean, it's not beneficial or a means to creating a sustainable society if you're basically devouring your own civilization. It's like the snake that eats its own tail. That's actually what we're seeing here. Obviously, the Terran society is not going to be sustainable. It's going to go extinct unless something comes in and changes this. It's rotting from the inside. So unfortunately, so.
Well, Semyasi and Val continue to come through Ethera and say that they are working behind the scenes and we don't know, but a lot of positive things are occurring.
Oh yeah, no, there's stuff. There's stuff. We're as I say, we're not going to stop fighting till it's over. But
yeah,
no, they're
and they say
definitely
don't despair. They say don't despair.
no, no. Well, then you're giving up. That's
That's right.
you can't do that. So but yes, it was amazing. This was like I said, the sensation, the feeling of the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the fealty that existed back at these Giant Rock conventions and the other situations that were going on where people were gathering who were
There was a
contacting
harmony where
Army.
everybody was in sync. They were in sync because the star visitors are giving them the information that's valid and it's timeless.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's if they had internet, can you imagine how amazing that would have been at that time?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
They've been able to broadcast these things all over the world, But yeah, it's like I said, but we keep on keeping on, as they say.
Yeah. And I believe we'll see all these individuals again. We get a chance to meet them in life for maybe brief time periods, but it doesn't mean we won't see each other again.
Oh, absolutely. We're eternal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just change our clothes sometimes and come back in another form, but.
And the star visitors would say to these contactees, when everything is equal and they make themselves known to us publicly, there's going to be a lot of hugging, embracing, and weeping of joy.
There's going to be a lot more than that.
Well, Andrea, do you have any closing comments that you'd like to maybe close with anything from upstairs?
No, I'm not connected right now, but I mean, I think it's important for folks to feel the gentility, the sweetness, the innocence, the purity,
the sincerity,
right? The focus on the mission, the authenticity. That's just what always resonated with me when I'm watching or learning or reading from these contactees from back in the day.
And you know what? They would always talk about that we're part of a cosmic family. Exactly. And it's time to rejoin that cosmic family. And Andrea, I'm glad you shared that clip from the Twilight Zone about the visitors.
Wasn't that cute?
Was a great clip. Did you share it with Linda?
No, it was a funny though. It was when the guy from Mars was talking to the guy from Venus, and the Mars people wanted to take over the Earth, and the guy from Venus says, "You're too late. We already did."
yeah. That was a great
one. One eye here, and it was just brilliant. The whole, I'll send it to Linda, but it was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and
it was 20 minutes of excellence. 20 minutes of excellence.
Yeah, it was a whole series just on that. It was the ship had landed, and the guy came out dressed as one of us, and they were stranded there in this cafe. It's a fascinating little.
It is.
The acting and it's brilliant twist of plot. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you expect that twist at the end? Did you expect it?
Never. When the guy, I knew the bartender wasn't E.T. You just knew. They're like, this guy.
Spoilers.
It's too late.
You'll enjoy it, Linda. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
But Linda and Andrea, if you haven't seen it, the one where the starship lands on this woman's roof and the little men come out and she starts attacking them. Yep. You saw that one, right?
I saw that one.
With Agnes Moorehead. There's not one word spoken in that whole episode. And at the end, she goes up on the roof and she sees U.S. Air Force on the saucer.
Yes. Oh, no, you killed it.
She starts attacking it with a hatchet. You just
killed that one for Linda as well. Yeah.
Yes.
She was a giant. She was a giant. And the Earth beings were like 2 inches tall.
Yeah. Yeah. She was E.T. living in her little like prairie-like cottage. And there was the United States Air Force that flew in on a spaceship.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not one word is spoken. It's all visual, but it's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
We have to pin down Frank as well. I'll have some Yasi make sure she always gets her big rope time up. We got to do Bill Tompkins. We never did.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Yes.
Think of all the people. Bill Tompkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. And more to come. More to come.
More to come for sure. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
So thank you again for linking those other ones so people could see about Barbara Beaver,
Barbara Beaver.
about Paul Villa, and the one about there was 3 of them altogether, wasn't there?
Yep.
Oh, the Bob Renaud photos, the one with the photos. You can link that one too.
It was the one on George Van Tassel, which we also have on there
George
as well.
Van Tassel. Yeah.
Van Tassel, yeah. They're all great links. Because these are historical things that you're not seeing in other books.
No. But what's important is you have firsthand experience.
Yeah.
It was a joy, it really was. It's like I often wondered, what am I going to learn new today?
Oh, what, yeah. I mean, it's just wild. That's beautiful stuff. Yeah.
Have no expectation but abundant anticipation.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, it's a
and it flows. It really does. It flows.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
And if I could ever get a photograph, a copy of that set of photos that was taken off planet. And again, I do have access to the guy who's got the Gabriel Green archives. And I'm telling you, he's got it. I believe it's in Arizona, and it's in a storage controlled area. I'm going to try to see if this guy's going to release it, because I'm telling you, it's historical, and it needs to be shared with the public.
Yeah, that really needs to be put out there for. It doesn't matter who puts it out, but just so it's out, like it. This is more important than the Epstein files. I'm sorry. This is way more important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if you just take some pictures of a few things and just release the photos, if you don't want to release the original, something like that.
Yeah, just the photos, copies of them. It doesn't have to be.
Well, he knows what he's sitting on. He knows how valuable it is.
Right.
And maybe if he just is given the credit for having saved such an important archive, give him credit for that,
Yes, of course.
And not break it up. It should remain in one piece.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they should be a museum, really.
That's right. Really.
They should.
And the same, I know the where the originals are of the Cy Winkler portraits. I know 2 women that have access, and they're in a storage controlled facility also in Arizona, and that they should be made available to the public, because it's like a photo gallery of our star friends.
Yeah,
absolutely. Wow. Well,
we need to see these. It would be very inspiring, I feel like, for all of us.
Yes.
This is what we need
to. It's all uplifting. Linda, it's all uplifting. None of it is derogatory. It's all uplifting.
Exactly. That's the point. We need this right now so much.
I mean, even
maybe when the time is right, these things will come to the forefront and become available, because you have to have receptive audiences for this.
Well, even if
I feel like that's happening, like that's coming to fruition right now. People are becoming more and more receptive to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think one of the latest polls is like 77 or 78% are open and receptive to the concept of star visitors interacting with us and want to learn more. And these things can do it. They can lay the foundations.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't see why they don't allow some footage, somebody come in and they open up some of the archives and let people just photograph it and do maybe a live stream or something like that.
Yeah. Because I'd love to hear these contactees in their own voices talk about their experiences.
I mean, it's
wow.
That's.
I mean, that is priceless. It's priceless.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Gabe always took perfect care of them. He always took perfect care of them because he knew that they were very meaningful.
Oh. Yeah.
I mean, it was his task. It's like he was the cosmic scribe when he was here.
Right.
Right.
And he did it very well. He did it very, very well. No ego, no attitude, none of that.
No. Well, you're carrying the torch, Frank.
Yep.
Big shoes. You got big shoes.
It's a joy to share these things. It's a joy to share these events. And the experiences speak for themselves. There's no hype about them. They speak for themselves.
Yes.
And you say Semyasi and Val are always the cheerleading team behind you.
Well, I feel their energy. I really do. How could you not feel their energy?
Oh, for sure. Well, I feel Semyasi. Well, I don't see Val as much because he's more your guy, but Semyasi, she's always popping around.
Yeah. Well, I told you when Paula and Paula Harris and George Filer and I and the fellow David, when we met up at High Bridge, New Jersey, and we went into the garden where Val was, and he was sitting there with the other 3 star beings.
Yep.
I could still feel the energy there. Andrea, the energy's still there. Oh my God.
Oh, that's amazing vibe. We also want to just say, thoughts are with Nick Pope and his family at this time.
Yes, truly. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I had no idea he was that severely sick. Did you think was he aware that it was that severe?
I don't know. He just made the announcement, and he's pulling
on Facebook.
Yeah, and he's pulling out of conferences that he had planned on going to, and yeah, so it's
and now he'll be out of Ancient Astronauts on the History Channel because he was in so many of those. He contributed so much.
He stepped aside from that as well. Yeah, it's rather hey, well, it's too bad. It's his family. He's going to focus now on his family, and yeah.
Yes, closing loose ends.
Yep. But he was.
Andrea and Linda, I was just going to say, Andrea and Linda, thank you again for this opportunity to share with you and with your audience joyful stories of upliftment.
Absolutely. That's a win.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Keep smiling, and see you upstairs.
You will.
We're all on the big screen anyway. We're all on the big screen.
Yeah.
Take care.
Hi.
Keep smiling.
See you, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you.
Thank you.